6 o'clock, I will call the City of Allegan City Council meeting to order for Monday, February 9th, 2026. Could I please have roll call?
Councilmember Clark.
Present.
Councilmember Westover.
Present.
Councilmember Walker.
Here.
Councilmember Canales.
Here.
Councilmember Hooker.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Hands.
Present.
Mayor Perigo.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. If you are able, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, moving down to agenda item 4A is approval of the regular council meeting agenda for February 9th, 2026. Could I please get a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes for January
The agenda.
26th. The agenda, sorry.
Support.
All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Moving down to agenda item 5A is approval of the regular council meeting minutes from January 26, 2026. I do not know of any changes to this, so could I get a motion to accept these minutes as is?
Make a motion to accept the minutes from January 26th.
Thank you.
Support.
Been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Abstain.
All right, thank you, Peter. All right, moving down to the next agenda item is 7A, which is first reading of Ordinance 535 to approve a payment in lieu of taxes in the amount of 3% for Parcel 0351-251-04100 and schedule a second reading and public hearing for February 23rd, 2026.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to kick this off, then I'll invite George and Craig from Wodakupa to come up here and give a little presentation. Just some history for City Council. Late last year, you directed staff to develop a RFP, a request for proposals, to sell and develop city-owned land on Low Street. It's approximately 2 acres. As council is aware, because we've been discussing this parcel for probably a little more than a year and a half now. This is a parcel that is contaminated, hard to develop. There's no reason for the city to own it. So we've kicked some tires on it. Going out for the proposals, Rhoda Cooper was the only bid that was submitted to the city. Council, you then entered into a purchase and development agreement with them. As part of that purchase and development agreement process, we talked about a PILT that would have to be acquired for this because this development will be workforce housing. And so with that, I'm going to invite George, it looks like, walking up to the podium. This will be your first time meeting these individuals. I have met them a dozen or so times, so they have a strong relationship with your administration staff.
Hi, my name is George Loda. I'm a development specialist from Woda Cooper Companies. I'm joined by my colleague Craig Patterson, who is a senior vice president of development. He made his way down from the Mackinac City office up north. So just to give a little bit of a background of who we are as a company, we were founded 35 years ago by our founding principal, Jeff Woda, and we have since expanded into 18 different states, just recently receiving our first reservation of tax credits in Texas. We have currently 16,000 units across our portfolio that we own and operate. We are a vertically integrated company who develops, constructs, and manages their own properties. To touch on Michigan specifically, Craig helped Jeff Woda, our principal, start Michigan roughly 20 years ago, and we have since developed and managed over 40 properties ranging from southern Michigan up to the UP and Marquette, Michigan. Next, I just want to touch on why Allegan specifically. Joel, I don't think it's working. Oh, I was just a little bit far behind. So Allegan specifically and how we came here. So MSHDA has something called the Qualified Allocation Plan, which is the competitive scoring process for federal low-income housing tax credits. which lays out the compliance and the exact scoring criteria that developers need to meet to be allocated these tax credits. And some of these scoring criteria look like proximity to amenities, which is, it could be, let's say for a rural community, it's 2 miles. You need to be within 2 miles of a public school, a public library, job training services, community organizations such as nonprofits, and also a public library. Additionally, they need to have public transportation such as Dial-A-Ride, which Allegan County does offer. And they also have something that's called community supportive initiatives, where you need to reach out to local municipalities and ask them what their current need is for obtainable, sustainable, affordable housing. So I got in touch with Joel and Parker over here in late April, and we started discussions on identifying where we should have a proposed project. And we looked over a couple sites, originally looking at the Ace Hardware that was for sale, and then we looked at 101, 102 Brady, which we didn't have enough room to fit our required density in for a project. And then we finally came to the Low Street property. So to touch on the site, it is outlined there. I know, Joel, we had previously discussed abandoning that right-of-way, but our current site plan fits into that proposed site. It's roughly 2 acres, and here's our site plan we're looking at is roughly 52 units, 3 stories, predominantly made up of 27 one-bedrooms and 25 two-bedrooms, I believe. Sorry, I don't have it right in front of me. And to touch on some of the amenities with this proposed development, we will have an on-site community manager, on-site service technician full-time. We will have a community room, a playground for children, and also it'll have GE appliances, washer, dryer hookups, and other amenities to offer. And here's a proposed rendering for the site. We are currently working with our architect, which is Hooker D. Young, to solidify, to also get a sign up there that says Allegan Terrace, which is the name of the proposed development, which we've decided on. Next, I'll touch on the current unit mix. Oops, I think it may have gotten cut out there. You did cut it out? Well, I'll just touch on it quickly. The proposed unit mix will be 30% to 80% of the area median income, which is, made up of workforce housing, which could be teachers, people within the local municipality, such as police officers, firefighters. It's true workforce housing, and that's what we want to make a staple on for this community. And next, I'll have Craig come up here to touch on pilot. Thank you.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, council members. It's a pleasure to be here. I've roamed all over the state for years. In fact, our first development here was just southwest of here, Hartford. That was around 2005. We put in 49 single-family units, detached with garages, community building. Jeff Wood and I found that site. Rent to own. The only time we could do a rent and own in this state, given the QAP, which George mentioned. George, it's here. The reason I bring that up, the second time I was very close to here is we acquired Orchard View, just down the road, in Gobles. That's a 24-unit senior. We were going to recapitalize that. We were going to rehab it, but we could never get the scoring necessary to get funding from MSHDA, which is an important part of why we're here today. George mentioned amenities and how a lot of amenities, which you have, end up giving us a score, which better assures us of funding. Let me get the directions correct. George mentioned, these are the type of workers that fit that 30 to 80%. New teachers, you'll see, city, county employees, bank employees, daycare, doggy daycare, licensed practitioners, estheticians. And one I wanted to emphasize was entrepreneurs. You have a lot. I saw the tech center coming to town. There are young people, older people getting educated. The hope is they'll work locally or they'll create something locally. The good thing about the 30 to 80% band of income is that individuals who can qualify to be in may be qualifying because they need good housing, they have limited income because they're starting something up, but they have enough income to be in our housing. Frequently asked questions. You can take a look real quick. Generally, pilot ordinances, I've reviewed your ordinance. I've reviewed the pilot that's before you tonight on the first reading, and we comply with the MSHDA requirements, which is a statute from 1966 that allows a municipality to give a pilot. Here tonight, you can agree, approve, disagree on our request for a pilot. A pilot, as you can see, assures long-term stability for the property. Now, why is that listed number one? Because the single greatest operating expense in a housing tax credit property like this, because we have restricted rents that are mandated by MSHDA in that 30 to 80% rent matrix, is because of the restricted rents, we can't willy-nilly just raise them anytime we want. We have to hold those rents until MSHDA approves the next level of rent increase. So we will be making a covenant with the state of Michigan, MSHDA, to hold these rents affordable for the next 45 years after we actually close on the property if we win funding. Second of all, our investors want a pilot. It gives predictability. If you don't have a pilot, like the last bullet says, the chances are we will not get funded because just about every developer in the state of Michigan receives a pilot. Can the pilot be instituted by an ordinance? We've already talked about it. Absolutely. You can make the decision tonight. Requirements for the pilot ordinance, I think most of you already know this if you've looked at your ordinance. The one key item is Allegan Terrace will be owned by Allegan Terrace Limited Dividend Housing Association Limited Partnership, which is the one qualifier other than the approval by council, the one qualifier to be eligible for the pilot. So let's talk about the pilot formula for this particular property, the proposal tonight for a 3% pilot. This is for Allegan Terrace. You'll notice that the formula is quite simple. Shelter rents less common utilities times the percentage of the pilot, in this case 3%. I want to emphasize shelter rents because it's not a traditional, not a traditional look at income, expenses, and a net operating income. This is less than a typical NOI, meaning the shelter rents are less than the NOI. If this was a typical NOI, that 434 at the bottom would be a lot less. It'd be probably half that amount. But let's look at it. We estimate at 100% occupancy at the projections we are looking at now before we go to the tax credit application that there will be a gross of $500,000 per annum at 100%. Now, these numbers could go up or down depending on our final app, but this gives you a ballpark, a pretty good solid estimate. Less vacancy. Now, how do we come up with 35,000? Because we, in our pro forma, project at a 7% vacancy factor. That vacancy factor you'll see in the next slide, if it's not that high, the number will be higher, shelter rents and the actual pilot per annum. Less common utility, that's a pretty solid number. That would be for street lights in our parking lot. That would be for community room, gas and electric, that would be for hallway lights. Those are common utilities. The other utilities are paid for by the tenant, but they do not come, they're not part of the expense. And then you get a net of 434,000, multiply that times the 3% pilot, 13,000 per annum. Currently, I don't know, I think both of these, I know that both of the parcels, one's owned by the county, one's owned by the city, so I presume there is no income at the present time off this site. At 100% occupancy, it goes from 13,000 to 14,000. Payment would be each July. That's built into the pilot ordinance or the pilot proposal that you've seen. And each year, by the end of March, we would send to your assessor, to your treasurer, third-party certified financials. You can double check to make sure our estimates are correct. We would also send you something from our accounting department that would say, based on the shelter rents, based on the 3%, here's what we believe the pilot payment should be for the coming year in July. With that, I'll take questions if there are any, and I'm sure there may be some.
You said, excuse me.
I can hear you,
You're
Will.
good.
Councilman Walker, I can hear you.
You said 45 years for, you're able to hold the pricing, or not pricing, but the low-income status, right?
Yeah, I think what I did, I didn't say, I may have forgotten to mention, there'll be a covenant with the deed that forces it to stay for 45 years. And that's a great question because it gets at what happens if Woda Cooper wants to flip it. Well, we can't flip it to a market rate person after you pledge a pilot because we have a covenant in the deed that says that if for some reason Woda Cooper ever decided to sell this property, we would have to sell to another owner like us that would have to hold those rents for whatever the balance of the year is. Now, Woda Cooper has never flipped. Well, let me back up. We have sold our RD portfolio, which is just rural development portfolio, but new construction like this, we have never flipped a property since 1990. The owners are in it to stay, and George reports to the owner's son, Clay Cooper, who is very smart. He's a senior vice president like me, but he's very smart and he intends to stay. Jeff Woda has children that have been in the business and are coming into the business.
No, if you have more questions, yeah.
One part that was confusing on section 7, it says part of the housing project that is tax exempt. And I think it was referenced somewhere else where it sounds like it's part, kind of take it as part could be subject to the pilot and the other part is tax exempt, or is that wrong?
Well, I think that's in the clause in the ordinance and the statute for market rate. If there was a mixed income, then it's calculated different. We did the school down in, Durand, got a governor's award, and we had 4 market rate units. We had a 3% pilot there. But those 4 market rate units the assessor then had to look at them, appraise them, and then we paid what the normal ad valorem would be for those market rates. Now, if this was a missing middle income, recently, if we were mixing with missing middle, which is 80 to 120, there is now a new statute in the state, or there's a new statute in state that allows this type of a pilot, something similar to this for those, because the state is trying to stimulate more in that range, which some call attainable workforce housing.
And so that would not, that would be taxed at a regular rate, those
That would if
units.
it was market rate, yes.
Okay.
But 100% of these units will be subject to the 45-year restriction. They will all be affordable between 30 and 80%, like George mentioned. And we cannot just willy-nilly change those rents. Let's say we have something that comes up and somebody at the corporate headquarters in Columbus says, we need more money. Well, we're locked into the rents the way they are. We got to wait till MSHA approves the next rent increase.
Well, you suggested 3% in 45 years, right?
We asked for a 3% because we looked at the books and we said, you know, in order to make this deal, in order to get the scoring we do, make the numbers work, we really need to be at 3%. We proposed it. Joel said, let's take it to council, see what happens.
Can you explain the scoring then? What, like, why aren't we talking 5% in 30 years? Why 3 in 45?
Yeah, I can touch on it if you'd like.
Well, I understand. Do you, go ahead, I'll pipe in at this.
So we have a gap in our financing. We have currently our eligible basis is at 130%, which means our total development cost minus our land. You take that times 9%, and that's how much you get in tax credit annually for 10 years. And when you look at that with a first permanent mortgage, there's strict underwriting requirements for MSHA where you can only be 50% deferred, where you put your developer fee back into the project. So having a payment in lieu of taxes helps minimize that deferred fee so we can maintain being within MSHA's guidelines.
So we're not in the guidelines at 5%?
No, we are not. So our current rent rolls, we're not producing enough income to pay back that mortgage. So we are figuring out ways to maneuver the gap. And one of the ways we are looking at is partnering with the Allegan County Community Foundation. We have Chris in the audience today who we've been in discussions with obtaining soft debt for the project.
He said it better than I could. So I'm glad you came up, George. Because he's in the Columbus office and they go thoroughly, they scrub these numbers. And we don't come to a community and ask for something we don't need. And I know there are choices that can be made, but it used to be that some communities would say, we got to have an 8 or a 10, and we just walk away. We've gotten so that we can't even do a 6 anymore because of the high material costs, the management costs, that type of thing. Our GC will be WODA Construction, which gives us a little more flexibility than with a total third party that's going to just slap you with change orders. We can move numbers around to make things work if we get into the red due to the material costs, but it's very hard to make these deals work. And once you get the credits, once you get the reservation, you just don't go back. They say, hey, tough luck. And we have to certify our costs at closing for our 8609, which is how we get everybody to prove the numbers, you know, to get the payment to the actual investors, et cetera.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Does anyone
I
else
think
have
I'm good.
any questions?
I do have one for Joel then. And as far as water and sewer then, how do we benefit? I mean, other than.
They pay the full rate,
Yes, yeah. How about,
53 units.
yes.
Average resident is 3,600 gallons per month.
How about though the setup, the installation and,
They'll pay one tap fee because it's be one connection to our main.
okay,
But the ongoing monthly payments is something to consider. I mean,
yeah, sure.
some other things I just point out, just if you don't mind, Mayor. And I'm going to speak a little bit from my hip, but in your packet, you got the income and rent limits document that's produced by MISHDA. 80% for a single person is $56,400. Every single new employee we hire starts well below that. So these are units that would be affordable to city employees, our DPW, our water utilities, our city hall staff. Our police started a little bit higher than that, so I shouldn't say every single employee, but the super majority, this would be a starting. And we have a handful of employees that are single, young, starting out on life. So that's something I just wanted to be clear for the whole council, because that's why I put this document in there. It's a lot of numbers on that spreadsheet. It can be a little confusing. You may not know off the top of your head what the employees are paid, except when we get into the budget coming up in the next couple months, but I wanted you to be aware of that. The other thing, just a reminder for council, with our ordinances, it's a two-step process. Tonight is just the first reading. You're not adopting the ordinance tonight. It has to, we have to have the public hearing, so, you'll just be approving a public hearing and a scheduling of ordinance. So if you have additional questions that you want us to dive into, we can dive into those additional questions. And then the third one, and I'll just keep beating this drum for you. This is a 2.1, approximately 2-acre parcel that the city cannot sell. And we have an opportunity here to, see something good come of that parcel for our community. And this isn't the only PILT we have, as I said in my staff report to you. We have 4 currently in the city of Allegan. So it's not like this is a new precedent for us per se. I understand it's new for everyone on this DS, but those are the things I just wanted to be clear as I deliver to you tonight.
There's a couple things Joel said that I might add, if I may, if you would like. Number one, he mentioned city employees and the threshold. One of the things that, let's say an employee is at the 70 to 80% AMI in terms of income, we will stretch, if they're right up at the top at that income bracket, we can bring them in. What we won't do is we won't charge them what the rent's at 80%. Generally, we're more conservative, more giving at the early stages because we want to attract the right people. And so in general, I've done a lot of these over the last 10 years since income averaging was first approved in the first Trump administration. And generally, for a 70%, we're around 62% of the rent allowable. And an 80, we may be 63 to 64%. So even though they can come in at 80% income, that's the highest, they're only paying the equivalent of a 64% rent that would be allowed under. Second of all, I wanted to mention utilities. I'm glad you brought this up. This will be a LEED certified building, net zero, which means that anybody in there will be paying less for utilities from a standpoint, not necessarily sewer and water. I mean, we will have energy saving water faucets, but when it comes to electric, when it comes to gas, those individuals, because we got high insulation, high SEER values, things like that are built in, Energy Star appliances, that'll help them have more disposable income for their families and for the community as a whole as they go and they shop around, et cetera.
Yeah, you're welcome. Any other comments, questions?
Well, only one. I assume that going by section 9, part of the finances that they're gonna have to provide us is making sure that they haven't paid off their mortgage. Because that's also one of the sections, and then I'm assuming that they'll just never pay off their mortgage or refinance it until the 45 years is up.
Oh, that's a great question. When I did my first one down in Hartford, when I did my first pilot, I said, somebody will come back someday. I doubt if I will, because I was at a certain age and I didn't think I'd be with the company 20 plus years. So what'll happen is you will probably see George come back. George, you promise? I promise. In 15 or 16 years. Because we will probably want to recapitalize the property, meaning if it will score, we would come back and we would say, hey, we want to try for more credits and reface it, bring in new this, new that, update, whatever. And so that's generally what would happen.
So you ask for a different pilot at that point, and that percentage
The-
might change
we
at that
would-
point, or?
No, we wouldn't ask for a different pilot if we already have a 45. What we would do is show MISTA that we have this pilot already. But that's normally the way it would happen.
Okay, because I know Joel's talked about our previous pilots and how dumb we were on a couple of them.
Joel, do you want to share?
Oh, yeah, well, some of them are zero tax, so that's how dumb we were.
The 1%, I have a hard time understanding how that's a 1%er, but
Now, there's 1% frozen rates, tax exempt 100%, and a tax exempt 100%. So, yeah, I would think those ones were pretty dumb at 100% tax exempt.
yeah. I am sure, knowing the way I speak, I probably use the word dumb in the conversation with some council members.
So, that was part of my question tonight was, is that 3% hard fast? Is it something that you're looking that it has to be 3%, it has to be 45 years was one of my questions. Because of course I need to know that because we're looking at what we're coming in as income from the property, because just because it's low income doesn't mean I don't have citizens that we have to service with that tax funds.
Sure, I
So
understand.
when we have a reduction in our tax base, which there isn't any there currently, so I can take that into effect too, but it is still, it increases the number of citizens, which increases the number of services that we have to provide, and we have to make sure we don't put ourselves into a bad situation. So that was my only questions, and Joel will probably come back next week with a couple answers, a couple
Yeah.
others.
I'll be
Okay,
able
we
to
can do
cover
that.
those for you.
We can do that. I think one of the things we'll look at is, Joel, if you can forward questions, we'll try to answer them quickly if there are ones. George did an excellent job talking about the gap and the fact we still have gap even with your 3% pilot. But it's your decision, and we hope that you will go to second read and approve, and I will be here to answer any questions from the general public as well.
Real quick, Craig, before you step away, what's this image we're looking at on our screen? was
That
in the
is
PowerPoint?
our Grandview Place on the Grand River in Grand Rapids, just north of the 6th Street Bridge. We got a pilot there. City of Grand Rapids has changed their pilot. They agreed to a 4% pilot there at a time when there were a lot of 6/8s being done. There's 21 units set aside there for chronically homeless veterans and their families, disabled. And we love the veterans in our facility because they take care of it, they watch out. And they're a good, great group. But it was the first one that we actually had done for veterans in the state. And it's been highly successful.
Did you guys partner with that Grand Rapids Housing Commission on that?
That one had MISTA because at the time, the executive director in the Grand Rapids Housing Commission wanted to hold every voucher for himself and his units. Since then, Lindsay Reams, who's now has granted us vouchers from her portfolio. And right now, we have one under construction in Wyoming where we have her vouchers.
So if ours comes to fruition, it won't look like this. Obviously, it's a different building, but it's only a 30-minute drive to Grand Rapids if you guys want to go kick tires and see what something looks like from the outside, albeit under probably 3 feet of snow.
Yeah, we'll be glad if you want to, and you want inside to anything that we're doing, George will direct, and we'll make sure the property manager opens the doors and take a look.
All right. If there's no other questions right now from council, could I get a motion to schedule a second reading and public hearing for February 23rd, 2026?
I will make that motion.
Thank you.
Support?
It's been moved and supported. Any further comments or discussion amongst council? All right, seeing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. All right, moving down to next agenda item is 8A, which is a public hearing, second reading, and adoption of Ordinance 534 to amend Chapter 11, Article 3 of the City of Allegan Code of Ordinances entitled Escrow Account Proceeds from Fire Insurance Payments to align procedures with the Fire Insurance Withholding Program.
Thank you, Mayor. This is the second reading. We reviewed this at your last meeting in January. Just to bring a fresh reminder up to everyone, we were amending this ordinance, so we copy the language that's in the state law. When one of our ordinances is rooted in the state law, we should just refer to the state law instead of copying it. They've changed the state law, I think, 3 or 4 times, and we never kept on top of amending our ordinance to match their changes. We can't be different than what the state law is when it comes to fire insurance payments. So our city attorney, Nick Curcio, said it's best just to go with this more simplified worded ordinance that just references the state law.
Any questions of council or of staff? All right, seeing none. All right, at 6:36, I will open the floor for public hearing. If there's any comments on this subject, please approach the podium and state your name and address. I am not seeing anyone from the public who is here tonight to discuss this, so I will go ahead and close the public hearing. All right, council, can I get a motion to adopt ordinance 534?
So moved.
Support. It's been moved and supported. Any further comments from council? Seeing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Moving down to agenda item number 9 is the first public comment period of the evening. If you have a public comment for any agenda item or any item that is not on the agenda, please approach the podium and state your name and address. All right, I am not seeing any public comment. You have a second public comment later if you think of something. I'll move down to agenda item 10A, which is a review of the Allegan Emergency Services Committee Q4 2025 Operations Summary Report and 2025 Annual Report.
All right. Good evening, Mayor, council members. My name is John Pinkster, Director of South Operations for Life EMS Ambulance. We've obviously been your emergency medical services provider for many, many years now and continue to very much enjoy serving and operating in the Allegan area here. Joel asked us to come out this evening just to kind of update everybody, provide a little bit of an overview and see if there are any questions for any of the reports that we have. Obviously, before you do have the Q4 report, which we do cover in depth at our quarterly meeting that we host for the Emergency Services Committee. Your current representative is Chief Gibson, so he comes out to those meetings and hopefully keeps you apprised of the things that are happening with the emergency medical side of things. That meeting takes place on the 3rd Wednesday of the month after the close of the quarter there. So we just had it back in January there, and that's at 8 o'clock, hosted locally at our Allegan station here in town. And we also offer a Zoom option. So if there are any council members that would like to attend that, whether in person or by Zoom, we'd be happy to have you and invite you out for that. Touching on the report itself, and I'll kind of cover the annual report there just because that shows a bit broader picture for everybody. The first page there just shows you the total requests we received in Allegan County as a whole. So this is inclusive of both our Allegan proper area and then the Fenville service area as well to kind of the northwest there. So you can see the total volume there in the red line, 4,276 requests over 2025, 2,869 transports. The blue line below is the Allegan area proper here, the municipalities that make up the Allegan agreement. That was 2,360 total transports and 1,550 for the, 2,360 calls and 1,550 transports there. The following page there just shows you the breakdown of the trending lines, which this area has been very stable over quite some time now, so no real changes there. And beyond that shows you the individual breakdowns for each municipality. The city here, of course, continues to receive excellent response times and overall compliance with that. You will see that there is a metric on there that says a 15-minute less response time and a 16-minute response time. Our original contract with the area here was a 16-minute response time. That's why we report against that. And then the Allegan Medical Control Authority changed that a few years back to a 15-minute threshold, so we just show you both metrics. Just so you can look at apples to apples if you were to go back in time and look at something that was before the change there. Any questions on that report itself?
Not seeing any.
If none, just a couple of updates by way of things. 2025, we did launch our Allegan facility here at 1263 Lincoln Road. Very proud to have opened that facility. If you hadn't had a chance to come out and see it, we'd love to welcome you. Just reach out, contact myself, and we'd be happy to give you a tour of that facility there. Vehicle replacements, our 933 ambulance was replaced up in the Fenville operation there, and Life EMS has a total of 36 ambulances on order for this year to replace ambulances throughout our fleet and continue to expand the overall fleet as a whole. We do continue to operate the gas engines in those and have had good reliability with those. Ambulance costs have increased pretty significantly there. An ambulance from 2019 to now has increased to by about 40%. So you're looking at roughly $165,000 to $195,000 for a base ambulance chassis. And that's without any of the medical equipment on board. We've done a lot of initial education. That's been making the news recently, and there was actually some comments before the meeting here about the Michigan funds that help support the EMS education. Those, of course, are going away. Life EMS is very committed to continuing to offer full ride scholarships for those that continue to seek employment with us. So we offer that. We have a 10-week EMT course, and we also offer multiple paramedic programs. Most recently, we began those in our south operation out of Kalamazoo. That began last year in the middle of June there. Graduated 323 EMTs last year. From Life EMS initial education programs and 21 paramedics. And we have a course of 19 paramedics graduating this February here. So education is a huge part of what we do. Very important for us to keep the pipeline alive so that we can continue to employ folks in the area here. Beyond that, those are the things I had for you this evening. Any other questions for Life EMS?
Yes, go ahead.
Now's the chance.
Internal turmoil, go ahead.
Yeah?
Just, I know it sounds nitpicky, but what are randomized high-fidelity simulation exposures?
So what we did is we took a lot of particular scenarios that we developed, and then when our crews would come in to do trainings on them, we would expose them to that scenario. So they don't know what the scenario is they're going to be running. And then when we say high fidelity, it's the style of mannequin that we're using. So the mannequins can actually breathe, they have lung sounds, you can take blood pressures on them, their eyes can open, they can blink, they can talk to you. It's pretty remarkable what a lot of the mannequins can do. So we come in, we set the stage, you have your patient, find them as you find them in the floor, and here's the information you got from your dispatch, and now you have to literally assess the mannequin, the high fidelity scenario. And then based on the scenario, we have scored metrics on what they have to achieve from a treatment standpoint.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question on, so with the hospital, and there was the change, so you mentioned your new building and that, how has that affected, like, Life EMS and the contract, with the city, with the surrounding areas, and then Beacon Health ambulance?
Yeah, so one of the challenges obviously has been the interfacility volume. Now, when we look at the contract for this area as a whole, some of that interfacility volume obviously generates revenue, and that revenue is important to offset the cost for doing business. So a 24/7 ambulance, just to give a really ballpark figure, costs about $1 million a year to staff, operate, overhead, fuel, et cetera. So all of that helps and kind of plays into the picture, right, when we look at the transport revenue that we generate. And the hospital obviously is a big portion of that. What we had seen is Beacon had come in and started using, or actually Ascension, had started using their own ambulance service to do some of those transports out. And we did see, obviously, an impact on revenue as a result of that. We have developed some very good relationships with Beacon. I don't know what their future direction will hold yet. It's a little too early to project any changes that they may or may not do. But I will say that the Beacon group as a whole has been much more welcoming. They've been much more interested in engaging with us and developing some relationships than the Ascension group before them. So hopefully it's on a positive trend. We'd love to see that.
Okay, all right, thank you. Any other questions from council?
All right. The only other thing I will mention is this year we do have a contract renewal come up We do those every 2 years, so that'll be coming up later this year. So certainly, again, if anybody wants to come out to the quarterly meetings, we'd love to have you.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry, when was that quarterly meeting? You said
Third Wednesday of the month at 8 o'clock. And
after the quarter, or?
after the close of quarter, so like January was our last meeting here. Yep, we just had
Gotcha,
it.
okay.
And certainly, if Manager Dye can get me your information, we're happy to add you to the invite. No pressure to show up, but you can always just click on Zoom. We make it easy.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening.
All right, moving down to agenda item 10B as a request from K'Zoo Folklife for a waiver of Mahan Park rental fees for the 2026 free community concert series, Music at Mahan.
Hi, my name is Leah Ward, for those of you who may not know me, and I am president of the Allegan Chapter of the K'Zoo Folklife. And we are certainly enjoying being part of the community. Some of the things we did last year was music on the Folklife, or the Monday nights, when the food trucks are here. That was fun, and I'm hoping that we can plan on doing that again. But I'm here tonight to ask that you let us use the park again for, we've changed the name from Good Times to the Gazebo to Music at Mahan. And we would like to be considered to use that park again. We're going into September this year, the first September, July 4th, that weekend we are not doing anything at the park. So we have bands scheduled. We will be going into the first Saturday in September. And so I'm just here to ask that you allow us to use that. We do a lot of advertising for you. Last year, I worked with the Kalamazoo Arts Council, and we did a huge display. It was a fold-out thing that we sent everywhere and delivered a lot to different people. And that went all over Southwest Michigan, and it included the city of Allegan as a sponsor. So hoping we can do that again this year. I'm not quite sure, but our goal is to do that. So, but we include you on all our other advertising too. So.
All right. Is there any questions for Leah or staff?
Right. Well, how's the new stage? Is that working out better, or?
You know, we like it. It's fine. We're just grateful that we were able to have a new stage, and I think it's a little bit sturdier. Haven't heard any complaints, put it that way.
Well, now you can
None
actually
from
perform under the
musicians.
shade if you want, and not, before
Yeah.
it was like you always had to be out in front, because if they're under the gazebo, it was,
Yeah,
Kinda.
well, we work it out. They're usually they're prepared, and we also have a rain location, so if we can't have it there, then we'll have it probably either down at the church or another location. So it's all worked out very well. We've had happy bands and no problems whatsoever. Even Jack's happy. So.
All right, any other questions? No? All right, can I get a motion to approve a waiver of the Mahan Park rental fees for the 2026 Community Concert Series?
so moved.
Support?
It's been moved and supported. Any further discussion amongst council? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Thank you.
Opposed? Motion passes. 10C is a request from Allegan Community Players to place a banner in front of the Griswold Auditorium. And I don't see anybody here.
I can handle that real quick, Mayor. In front of you is a request from Allegan Community's Player to place a banner from February 15th through March 22nd to promote their upcoming production of Heroes and Scoundrels.
All right, can I get a motion to approve placing a banner in front of the Griswold Auditorium?
I'll make a motion to place that banner.
And supported.
It's been moved and supported. Any further discussion or comments from council?
It'd be nice if we get our spot back by the highway.
Great. All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. All right, we'll move down to 11D1 under Public Works is to approve a resolution 26.06 adding Sherman Street in the River Ridge Plat to the Act 51 certified mileage inventory.
How are you guys?
Good.
Good. Yes, here to ask you guys to approve Resolution 26.06, adding Sherman Street to the River Ridge Plat, to the Act 51 Certified Mileage Inventory from the state of Michigan. You guys had done this back in October meeting. They had an audit, and we had some wording wrong on the first resolution, so they would rather us reference the survey that was done instead of footage of the roadway.
Okay,
So just hopefully a simple change.
all right. Any other questions of staff from council? No? All right, can I get a motion to approve Resolution 26.06?
So moved.
Support. So moved and supported. Any other comments from council? Seeing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
11D2 is a request to authorize the city manager to sign the approval of the notice of award to Milbocker and Sons Incorporated for the downtown utility and roadway reconstruction project.
Thank you, Mayor. We had our first bid opening of a handful of bid openings that will be coming in over the next 2 weeks to make infrastructure improvements throughout our city. This first one is for our downtown utility and roadway reconstruction. This will focus on Trowbridge from Locust Street to Walnut Street, and then Walnut and Chestnut Streets from Hubbard Street to Trowbridge Street. This will be new water mains, new sewer mains, replacing any service lines that go from our mains to private property, new sidewalks where appropriate, and new landscaping where appropriate. This will complete our downtown streetscape project that we started in 2023. The final engineer's estimate was approximately $3.2 million. The low bid came in at $2.7 million. So we're thankful at the staff's level that we had very favorable numbers come in with this project. What you're doing tonight is that you are approving me, the city manager, to sign the notice of award. This then starts the domino effect with Milbocker for them to get the 4 contracts reviewed by their council and signed, as well as get their not bid bonds, but their construction bonds together and everything else that's required in the contracts, and then it'll come back to you for final approval at a later meeting.
Is there any questions of council?
I have a question. So this is, they did the rest of the streetscape, right?
Yeah, they did the
Yeah,
phase
So
1.
it's going to be seamless and,
It should be.
okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, I don't see any other questions. Could I get a motion to authorize the city manager to sign the approval of the notice of award?
I'll make a motion that we authorize the city manager to sign the notice of award.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any further comments from council? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. 11E1 is a request to approve accounts payable and payroll, and Mayor Pro Tem Hance.
It's requested that the city council approve accounts payable in the amount of $1,538,146.66 and payroll in the amount of $134,911.53 for a total disbursement of $1,673,058.19. Motion to approve.
Can I get a support?
Support.
Okay, it's been moved and supported. Any questions of staff from council? Seeing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. 11E2 is a request to adopt Resolution 26.05 to approve FY 2026 second quarter budget adjustments.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll take this over, and if you have specific questions, Tracy will be able to pull this up. As you know, every quarter, we have council approve budget adjustments. This is done so we can stay on top of our budget and make sure that it ends at the end of the fiscal year balanced. In your report, you received 4 attachments, the budget adjustment explanations for revenues, budget adjustment explanations for expenditures, budget adjustment recommendations for revenues, budget adjustment recommendations for expenditures, and then finally, there's actually 5, finally, a summary of all funds, and then the resolution, which is 2605. On the PowerPoint, we went ahead and just shared with you that at the end, when you take all this together, our revenue increased by $67,204. And so we had to make those amendments, and then our expenditures increased by $67,953.
Is there any questions?
Yes, well, I'd just like to know what were the main expenditures that caused that overage.
Okay, so do you have the packet open in front of you right now?
Do.
All right, let's jump to page 77. Tracy, you got it? But you have the extra detail, though.
I
Good.
have different detail. The big expenditures were for things that were approved at council meetings, one being, the 201 Race Street code enforcement issue, demolition, the increase to the fire district contract, and, backhoe repairs. Those are the big things.
The demolition on 201 Race, that's demolition, right?
Yeah, you guys awarded the contract
Yeah.
probably 3 months ago, I believe, and we are now going through the process of working with the utilities to get the utilities disconnected, because one thing you don't want to do is demo a house when it's still connected to gas. That can end up really bad for a neighborhood, so.
Yeah, sorry, Tracy,
Yeah.
I didn't pay attention to the summary. I looked at all the detail, and, okay, so it makes more sense.
Okay.
Thanks.
Any other questions? All right, can I get a motion to adopt resolution 26.05?
Make a motion to adopt resolution 26.05.
And supported.
Moved and supported. Any further comments from council? Seeing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. 11E3 is a review of the 2026 City Manager's Single Lot Assessment Report.
Thank you, Mayor. This is the first step in a process for us to assess unpaid bills on the property taxes in the city of Allegan. These are for services that we rendered, and the property owners have not paid us for the services we rendered. The total is $2,945.08. There are 3 areas that were not paid. Blight cleanup, which was really just mowing. When someone's grass gets longer than 8 inches, we give them 72 hours to mow it. They don't mow it, we go out, we cut it down, and then we send them a bill. Downtown garbage participation. So we have a single hauler contract for our downtown. We have an ordinance for our downtown refuse. All property owners have to pay into the system. We have a handful of properties that have not paid into the system. Therefore, we are putting those bills onto the tax bill. And then we issued 1 water meter to a property owner. That property owner has lost that water meter. Well, you got to pay for it, and so we're putting that on their taxes. So those are the 3 things that we are putting onto the thing. I believe you saw in your actual report, we submitted all the individual addresses and the property, so you guys can see that. Any questions for staff? All right, I believe that this, and Tracy, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is, you just review it, there's no action taken. We're going to bring a resolution to you at your next meeting for you to adopt the resolution that tells staff to go ahead and move forward with this. I will let you know that Danielle Bird, who is our deputy treasurer, told me, must have been earlier today because today's Monday, but 2 people have already paid that were on the list. They've already dropped off payments on Friday, so this list will shrink between now and then. This is like the initial list.
All right. Okay, thank you. Moving down to agenda item number 13 is the second public comment of the night. If there's a public comment that you would like to share, please approach the podium and state your name and address. All right, I am seeing no rush to the podium, so I'm going to move down to agenda item number 14, which is communications from the city manager.
Thank you, Mayor. A few things I just want to point out or update council on. First of all, at your previous meeting, you accepted 2 gifts from the estate of Robert Faskey. Parker Johnson and I have met with his heirs or his relatives, his kin. They're in Florida for the winter. But we had a very nice conversation with them. One of the gifts was a donation to the city of Allegan to be used for flowers and trees and bushes and shrubbery, I believe is what it said in the will. We have talked to the foundation, and we have talked to the family, and we are going to set up an endowment. Excuse me if I use the wrong words here, but we're going to set up an endowment fund at the foundation where each year the interest off that fund will come to the city to help pay for our flowers and landscaping costs. On average, we spend just below $10,000 on landscaping in the city. We should have enough interest each year off this fund to pay that cost. And then we're going to encourage other people in the community to donate in his name to the foundation to grow that fund. The other fund is for the Griswold Auditorium. Our plan is to utilize that money this upcoming year for a significant capital improvement budget. Infrastructure project we plan over there. It's tied together with the Art in Allegan fundraiser that's happening on March 14th. I encourage all council members to free up your day that day and partake in that fundraiser at some point. Everyone tells us what a crown jewel that building is, and they are correct. It is a crown jewel for the city. Council, you firsthand know how expensive that building is to manage because you see the budget every year. So this is an excellent opportunity to use his gift as a springboard to get more community support and make the necessary improvements that have to be made to that building. So when we had that conversation with his family, they were, I don't want to say the words overjoyed, but they were very supportive of the direction. And they were looking forward to coming back to Allegan in a few months to have a sit-down conversation and talking about how we can roll this out together and, celebrate these 2 gifts to the city. So that was positive in my eyes. Other than that, winter has been really hard on our budget. Our downtown snow plowing, as council is aware, we removed all the snow from the sidewalks. We are now $17,000 over budget from what we were. Last year we broke 40. We're probably going to break 50 this year. We're going to have a serious conversation with the DDA this Wednesday, the Downtown Development Authority. But as we go into our budget discussion for next year, these are one of the areas we're going to have tough conversations about how do we move forward. So providing a high quality of life, but finding ways to be a little more cost effective in how we do it. And I need to make you guys aware of that because you're going to be getting a budget amendment coming to you at your next meeting. And I just wanted to let this be the shot over the bow of the council. The downtown snow removal on our sidewalks has been quite expensive. And with that, I hope you guys have a great Monday night.
Great. All right, thank you. Okay, agenda item number 15, roundtable discussion from council and mayor. I'll start, Councilperson Clark. Did you have any comments tonight?
I do not.
All right. Councilperson Westover.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm all set.
Thank you. Councilperson Walker.
I just want to thank all city employees for the sidewalk, the care for the sidewalks and streets. Anyone with dogs or children, whatever, grandchildren, it's helpful. Thank you.
Councilperson Canales.
Just like to join on with Councilmember Walker and say how a great job they're doing. This has been a very overwhelming year in the amount of snow we've been getting. But I think the sidewalks, roads have been better than they have in the past. They're doing a great job, so thank you.
Councilperson Hooker.
I just want to remind everybody, if you would like to chat with council about anything, Councilmember Walker and I will be at the new warming center at the Community Action Agency building on Water Street from 4 to 6 p.m. on the 20th, February 20th. Thanks.
And Mayor Pro Tem Hance?
Nothing for me tonight.
Okay. And I have nothing either, so it's 7:05. I will adjourn. Thank you.